Have you ever wondered how one tiny decision, just a split second of choosing kindness over convenience, could alter the course of your entire life? Imagine being in an airport, late for the most important flight of your future, and stopping to help a stranger who looks frail and forgotten. Would you risk everything? That's the exact choice one woman made, and what followed will make you question if fate itself was watching. The story begins with Amara Lewis, a 32-year-old black woman from Albuquerque, New Mexico. She wasn't extraordinary by society's standards. She didn't own expensive clothes or drive a shiny car. She worked two jobs, answering phones at a small dental clinic by day and cleaning offices by night, just to keep the lights on in her modest apartment. Life had been a series of sacrifices, but today was supposed to be different. She had a chance, her first real chance, to break free from the endless paycheck-to-paycheck grind. A marketing firm in Seattle had called her in for an interview. The opportunity wasn't guaranteed, but it represented hope, and Amara had clung to that hope like a lifeline. She woke up at 4 a.m., drove 2 hours to the airport, and endured a layover in Phoenix. Now, all that stood between her and her dream job was one connecting flight to Los Angeles, and from there to Seattle. But as anyone who has ever sprinted through an airport knows, time is not always on your side. With only 14 minutes to get from Terminal B to Terminal D, Amara rushed like her life depended on it. She weaved through a sea of travelers, her tote bag digging into her shoulder, her boarding pass crumpled in her sweating hand. Every second mattered. Her heart sank when she spotted the glowing sign above Gate D4, Final Boarding. She muttered under her breath, frustration pushing her to move faster. But then, just as she rounded the corner near the TSA checkpoint, she froze. An elderly man stood alone by a toppled suitcase. His gray jacket hung loosely over thin shoulders, and his trembling hands fumbled with the belongings scattered on the floor. Shirts, papers, and even a framed photograph lay on the ground, ignored by the dozens of travelers brushing past him. His knees shook as if they might give way any moment. For half a second, Amara hesitated. Her chest tightened, torn between two impossible choices: the gate that represented her entire future, or the stranger who clearly needed help. She whispered to herself, "Don't do it. You can't afford to." But when she saw the old man reaching for the fallen photo frame, his hand quivering so badly he nearly dropped it, something inside her broke. She sighed, shoved her phone into her pocket, and hurried toward him. "Sir, let me help you with that," she said, crouching to gather his scattered belongings. "Oh, thank you," he rasped, his voice fragile but sincere. "These hands, they don't work like they used to." "No problem," Amara replied softly, sliding the photo back into his suitcase and zipping it shut. "You traveling alone?" The man hesitated before nodding. "Yes, my son was supposed to come, but plans change." His eyes glistened behind his glasses, and Amara didn't push for details. Instead, she lifted the suitcase back onto his cart, tightened the handle, and forced a smile despite the ticking clock in her mind. "Come on, let's get you to your gate." She had no idea that by choosing compassion, she was about to miss her flight and stumble into a story that would rewrite her destiny. As they walked together, Amara adjusted her pace so he wouldn't feel rushed. His steps were unsteady, his breathing shallow. "Do you know which gate you're headed to?" she asked, glancing at the ticket in his trembling hand. "F7, he muttered after squinting at the print. Her stomach dropped. F7 was across the terminal, a solid 5-minute walk, 10 at his pace. Her plane to Los Angeles was scheduled to depart in less than 7 minutes. Logic screamed at her to call for assistance, to run back to her own gate. But one look at his frail frame silenced the voice of reason. She steadied her breath. "We'll get there." Even as she said it, Amara wondered if she was talking to him or to herself. And that's when the thought hit me as a storyteller, as someone who's seen too many people pass by without looking. Isn't it crazy how life often tests us when we're most desperate? Amara could have kept walking. Many of us would have, but she didn't. She chose kindness. That choice, though it seemed small, was about to change everything. The walk to Gate F7 felt like being caught in a tug-of-war between urgency and humanity. Amara's body wanted to sprint, her muscles tense with the instinct to run, but her heart insisted on patience. Each step with the old man seemed to stretch time, every tick of the airport clocks hammering against her chest like a countdown. She could almost hear her sister Alina's voice in her head. Don't play hero, Amara. Get to your flight. But how do you silence the part of yourself that refuses to watch someone struggle alone? They moved slowly past a coffee stand, the smell of roasted beans wrapping around them. Amara's legs screamed at her to break away, to bolt, but instead she shifted her tote bag to her back and extended her arm. The man accepted it, his frail fingers cool and papery. Yet beneath the tremor, there was a surprising steadiness, almost as if, strangely, he wasn't as weak as he appeared. Still, his breaths came shallow, each one rattling like a whisper of effort. Amara adjusted her stride, slowing down, matching him step for step. She didn't say a word. Sometimes kindness speaks loudest in silence. Finally, the concourse opened wide, and there it was. Gate F7, looming in the distance like the last door of possibility. Her heart jumped, but the monitor answered before she could even hope. Boarding closed. The words cut through her like glass. Amara's breath caught in her throat. She had known this was coming, but knowing didn't soften the blow. That was her future sealed behind a closed door. The interview, the job, the escape from endless struggle, gone. And yet, when she turned to look at the man beside her, hunched over his cart, his eyes glistening with quiet gratitude, something inside her whispered, "You made the right choice." She forced a smile, though her heart felt like stone. "We're here," she said softly. The old man, Walter, he had introduced himself earlier, looked up at the sign and then at her. His lips curved into a faint smile that carried both weariness and relief. But before Amara could even think about saying goodbye, something happened that knocked the air from her lungs. A gate agent stepped from behind the counter, her posture perfectly professional, but her tone unusually warm. "Mr. Kensington," she said with a respectful nod, "we've been expecting you. Everything is ready." Amara blinked. Expecting him? Her eyes darted between the agent and Walter, the fragile stranger she had just escorted across the airport. Suddenly, the way people had ignored him seemed impossible to reconcile with the tone of deference in the agent's voice. Walter gave the agent a calm nod, then turned back to Amara. His smile deepened, carrying a weight she hadn't noticed before. "It looks like this is where we part ways," he said gently. He extended his hand, his grip surprisingly steady now. "Thank you, Amara. You've done more than you know." Her phone buzzed in her hand. The notification from the airline app lit up like a cruel reminder. "Your flight to Los Angeles has departed." Amara swallowed hard, her chest hollowing out. This was it. She had blown her chance. She turned away quickly, blinking back the sting in her eyes, and began walking toward the nearest help desk. She needed to find another flight, even if it meant spending money she didn't have. But then, her name rang through the terminal, crisp and clear over the intercom. "Passenger Amara Lewis, please report to Gate F9. Passenger Amara Lewis, Gate F9 immediately." She froze. Her pulse skipped, her knees locking mid-step. F9 wasn't her gate. Her flight was gone. So why were they calling her? The announcement repeated. People around her barely noticed, but Amara's heart hammered like a drumline in her chest. Clutching her tote tighter, she hurried down the corridor, sneakers squeaking against the polished floor. Each step echoed louder, as though fate itself was calling her name. When she reached F9, a young woman in a Navy uniform stood waiting with a smile that almost felt knowing. "Ms. Lewis?" Amara nodded, breathless. "Yes, that's me. Is this about my flight? I missed it, but I have to get to Seattle tonight. Please, The woman raised a hand, her smile calm, almost secretive. "Don't worry, we'll take care of you." Amara frowned, her chest tightening with confusion. "Take care of me? I don't understand." "Please follow me," the agent said simply, and something in her tone, assured, final, made Amara obey. They walked past crowded gates into a quiet hallway Amara had never noticed before. The hum of chatter faded, replaced by the muffled tap of her sneakers against gleaming tiles. It didn't feel like an airport anymore. It felt private. At the end of the hall, the woman keyed a code into a sleek glass door. The lock clicked open, and Amara stepped inside. Her breath caught. The room looked like it belonged in a movie. Plush leather chairs, soft golden lighting, a buffet lined with gourmet snacks and champagne, a panoramic window overlooking the runway. Everything glowed with quiet luxury. This can't be for me, Amara whispered, clutching her tote. I can't afford this. But the woman smiled again. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. Please have a seat. Someone will be with you shortly. Amara's confusion spiraled. She opened her mouth to protest, and then she saw him. Walter. But he didn't look like the frail, trembling man she had walked across the terminal. He stood tall, straight-backed, in a charcoal gray suit that looked like it was tailored by the gods themselves. Two sharply dressed men flanked him, listening as he gave quiet instructions. His movements were fluid, confident, commanding. Amara's knees nearly buckled. What in the world? Walter turned. His eyes landed on hers, and the warm smile she recognized spread across his face. Only now it carried power. Amara, he said, walking toward her with a steadiness that erased every memory of his weakness. Thank you for waiting. I was hoping we'd have a chance to talk. Amara's mouth went dry. She gripped her bag tighter, every piece of reality tilting. Wait, what is this place? Why am I here? Walter's smile softened. His next words dropped like thunder. This is one of our private lounges. Our, he repeated, because Amara, I own this airline. Her jaw fell open. The man she'd just sacrificed everything for, the man with trembling hands and scattered shirts, was Walter Kensington, the billionaire founder and CEO of Kensington Air. And her life was about to change forever. For a long moment, Amara simply stared at Walter Kensington. Her mind refused to process what her eyes clearly saw. The trembling old man she had guided through the airport now stood like an entirely different person. Straight-backed, commanding. Every inch the billionaire founder of an empire. She shook her head slightly, her voice barely a whisper. You own this airline? Walter's eyes softened. That's correct. I'm Walter Kensington, founder and CEO of Kensington Air. The words thundered in her ears. She blinked, waiting for a hidden camera crew to appear, for someone to shout, "Surprise!" as if this were all some elaborate prank. But no one came. There were no cameras, just his steady gaze, as warm as it had been when he'd fumbled with his luggage. Why? She croaked, her throat dry. Why did you let me? Why would you? Walter raised a gentle hand, stopping her mid-sentence. There were no tests, Amara, no games. I was exactly who you saw out there, a man in need of help. And you stopped. You gave up something precious, your chance at a future, for a stranger. That tells me everything I need to know about you. Her chest tightened painfully. My flight, she whispered, her voice breaking. That interview, it was everything I worked for. Now it's gone. Walter tilted his head, studying her with a compassion that cut deeper than pity. Tell me about it. And so she did. She told him about Albuquerque, the small apartment with thin walls, the two jobs that left her exhausted and invisible, the marketing firm that had finally offered her a shot at escaping the grind. She spoke with the raw honesty of someone who no longer had anything to lose. Walter listened, not like a billionaire humoring a stranger, but like a man truly weighing every word. When she finished, he leaned back, folding his hands calmly. You love marketing? Her eyes flicked up, surprised by the question. I do. I've done projects for local businesses, social media campaigns, branding. Nothing huge, but it's what I love. And you gave that chance up for me. She shook her head quickly. I didn't think of it like that. You needed help. It just felt like the right thing to do. Walter's smile deepened, almost proud. That's exactly why I want you on my team. Amara blinked. What? I don't just own an airline, Walter explained. Kensington Air is part of a larger group. Hospitality, logistics, even marketing. We're launching a new division focused on authentic branding, telling real stories that matter to communities. And I need someone who understands what struggle feels like. Someone with creativity, persistence, and integrity. Someone like you. Amara's lips parted, her voice barely audible. You're offering me a job? Walter's chuckle was low, genuine. Not a job, Amara. A career. A future. If you're willing to take it. Her hands trembled in her lap. Her mind spun with disbelief. But why me? You just met me. Why would you trust me with something so important? His gaze locked on hers, unwavering. Because how you treat people when no one's watching tells me everything I need to know. You chose kindness when it cost you. That's the kind of person I want leading this work. Tears stung her eyes. For years, she had been invisible. Another woman cleaning offices at night, another voice answering phones by day. And now this man, this titan of industry, was telling her she mattered. She swallowed hard, her whisper cracking into the air. Yes. Walter's face lit up. Good. Then consider yourself part of Kensington Group. We'll handle your accommodations, get you settled, and begin onboarding next week. Amara laughed, half joy, half disbelief, pressing her palms to her knees to ground herself. I don't even know what to say. Just keep being who you are, Walter said softly. Sometimes life rewards those who stop to care. A flight attendant entered the lounge carrying 2 glasses of champagne. Walter accepted them and handed one to Amara. His hand was steady now, firm, as though the frail man from before had never existed. To new beginnings, he said. Amara lifted her glass, her fingers trembling. To kindness, she whispered, her voice breaking. The clink of their glasses was more than a toast. It was a seal, a promise, a door opening to a future she never thought she'd live to see. That night, as a private car carried her to a 5-star hotel arranged by Walter's team, Amara stared out the window at the blur of city lights. Her mind replayed the day like a film reel. The rushing, the panic, the choice to stop. And now this, her life rewritten because she cared when no one else did. She thought of how easy it would have been to keep walking, to tell herself it wasn't her problem. That's what most people did. That's what life teaches us sometimes. Look out for yourself because no one else will. But today proved something different. Today proved that kindness still mattered and that it could move mountains. Her phone buzzed, a new message. She swiped it open. Walter Kensington. Welcome to the family. Tears filled her eyes again, but this time they weren't from despair. They were from joy, from relief, from the unbelievable truth that one small act of compassion had changed everything. And that's where I have to pause and speak directly to you, the listener. Because this isn't just Amara's story, it's a mirror. How many of us have rushed past someone in need? How many times have we convinced ourselves we were too busy, too important, too late to stop? Amara missed her flight. She lost what she thought was her only chance. But in reality, she gained more than she ever dreamed. So the next time you're rushing through life, ask yourself, would you stop? Would you risk your own schedule, your own comfort for a stranger? Because you never know who you're helping, and you never know how that single act might change not just their life, but yours. And as the car pulled up to the glowing hotel entrance, Amara whispered the truth to herself, a truth that should echo in all of us. Kindness always wins.